The biggest mistake, the computer that created famine. Listen up. We are absolutely terrified of AI right now. We lie awake worrying about ChatGPT stealing our jobs, robots taking over the world, Skynet becoming self-aware. But here's something nobody talks about. AI already tried to end us in 1972, and it didn't use killer robots. It used a spreadsheet. This is the true story of the first time humanity said, let's let a computer decide our fate. Spoiler alert, everything went wrong. In 1972, a computer model called World 3 was built to save humanity. It crunched the numbers and delivered its verdict. You're all gonna die, soon. But the computer didn't just predict doom. It actually created it. This machine convinced world leaders to make catastrophically stupid decisions that triggered a real, actual global food crisis. A computer created famine. Not through malice, but through bad math and human stupidity. Let's rewind to 1972. Bell-bottoms are in fashion, Nixon is president, and for the first time in human history, we had too much food. The Green Revolution had basically solved hunger. Norman Borlaug had created high-yield crops producing insane amounts of food. We were producing so much grain that the United States was literally running out of places to store it. Silos were overflowing. Hunger seemed over. But not everyone was celebrating. Enter the Club of Rome, a think tank of intellectuals who looked at all this abundance and thought, this can't last. They were obsessed with exponential growth. Population was exploding from 2.5 billion in 1950 to almost 4 billion by 1972. Everyone was consuming more, polluting more. The Club of Rome needed proof that disaster was coming. They needed authority. And in 1972, there was nothing more authoritative than a computer. Computers had put men on the moon. Computers were objective, logical, infallible, so they went to MIT. They hired a team led by Jay Forrester with one mission: build a computer model that can simulate the entire world and predict our future. And they actually did it. They created World 3 mind-blowingly complex for 1,972. Over 100 variables, hundreds of feedback loops. It modeled how population affected food demand, how industrial production caused pollution, how resource depletion limited growth. The computer crunched numbers for months. The result was published in The Limits to Growth in March 1972, an instant global bestseller. The verdict? If humanity continues on its current path, civilization will collapse before 2070. Not might collapse, will collapse. The book showed different scenarios, but they all ended the same way: collapse. The most immediate and terrifying prediction? Mass starvation. The planet had finite arable land, and we were hitting that limit. Food production would peak by the 1,990 seconds, then decline. Result? Billions of deaths. Societal breakdown. And people believed it. The United Nations took it seriously. The World Bank took it seriously. Governments worldwide took it seriously. This wasn't fringe conspiracy. This was mainstream scientific consensus. The message was clear. We can't grow our way out. There are hard physical limits. Here's where the fatal mistake begins. When you have a computer model predicting disaster and everyone believes it, people start making decisions based on that prediction. The Food and Agriculture Organization shifted their strategy from how do we feed everyone to how do we manage inevitable scarcity. Agricultural investment dropped. Grain reserves were allowed to decline. The whole global food system started preparing for the apocalypse the computer predicted. Now let's talk about what World 3 got catastrophically wrong. The fundamental problem: it treated technology as a constant. It assumed farming would improve at a slow, linear rate, maybe 2% per year. Steady, predictable, boring. But technology doesn't work that way. It improves in bursts, in breakthroughs nobody sees coming. The model couldn't predict drought-resistant crops, precision agriculture, vertical farming, genetic modification, any of the innovations that would transform food production. And people believed it. The United Nations took it seriously. The World Bank took it seriously. Governments worldwide took it seriously. This wasn't fringe conspiracy. This was mainstream scientific consensus. The message was clear. We can't grow our way out. There are hard physical limits. Here's where the fatal mistake begins. When you have a computer model predicting disaster and everyone believes it, people start making decisions based on that prediction. The Food and Agriculture Organization shifted their strategy from how do we feed everyone to how do we manage inevitable scarcity. Agricultural investment dropped. Grain reserves were allowed to decline. The whole global food system started preparing for the apocalypse the computer predicted. Now let's talk about what World 3 got catastrophically wrong. The fundamental problem: it treated technology as a constant. It assumed farming would improve at a slow, linear rate, maybe 2% per year. Steady, predictable, boring. But technology doesn't work that way. It improves in bursts, in breakthroughs nobody sees coming. The model couldn't predict drought-resistant crops, precision agriculture, vertical farming, genetic modification, any of the innovations that would transform food production. The result? Global grain prices tripled between 1972 and 1974. For poor countries, depending on grain imports, it was catastrophic. The Sahel famine in Africa killed hundreds of thousands. Ethiopia, Bangladesh faced starvation. Here's the crushing irony. The famine wasn't caused by lack of food. There was enough food in the world to feed everyone comfortably. The famine was caused by distribution failures, hoarding, speculation, and policies based on the false belief we'd hit a physical limit. The computer predicted famine due to limits. Leaders prepared for limits, which created actual famine, which confirmed the computer was right. Except the computer wasn't accurate, it created the famine by convincing everyone to act like famine was inevitable. World 3 looked at humanity's ingenuity and innovation, the things that let us survive for millennia, and just ignored them. It treated humans like passive variables, not active problem solvers. That was the biggest mistake. Not the computer's mistake. The human mistake of trusting the computer more than ourselves. The crisis passed by mid-1970. Harvests improved, prices stabilized. Lesson learned, right? Of course not. Despite predictions being demonstrably wrong, we didn't collapse, didn't run out of land, food production kept increasing, the core ideas from limits to growth remained embedded in global thinking. The message became, growth is bad, technology can't save us, we must degrowth. Meanwhile, in reality, food production kept increasing dramatically. Today we produce more food per acre than ever. We feed 8 billion people, double the 1972 population with lower rates of hunger. We didn't hit a limit, we innovated past it, like we always do. But World 3 convinced a generation that innovation was impossible, that limits were permanent. And here's what terrifies me. We're doing it again, right now. Climate models, economic models, AI predictions, we're making the exact same mistake. We're reducing complex systems to mathematical models and treating predictions as gospel. Today's AI is far more sophisticated than World 3, but it has the same flaw. It can only work with existing data and absolutely cannot predict genuine innovation. When climate models say we'll run out of fossil fuels, they can't predict we'll invent fusion. When economic models predict mass unemployment from automation, they can't predict entirely new industries. Here's the lesson. Demand transparency. Question the black box. Never assume a model has captured reality's full complexity. When someone says the models show or AI predicts, stop them. Ask questions. What assumptions went in? What didn't it account for? Who built it? What's the error margin? Can it predict innovation? Algorithms are just automated human biases. They don't eliminate error, they industrialize it. The computer that created famine in the 1917 wasn't evil, just wrong. But its wrongness, combined with blind human faith, killed hundreds of thousands. The biggest mistake wasn't the computer. It was the fatal human conceit that we could model the entire world and outsource our judgment to a machine. We made that mistake in 1972. We're making it again right now. The power to fix it is in your hands. Demand transparency. Demand accountability. Question the algorithm. Remember the computer that created famine. And don't let the next biggest mistake be written in code. Thanks for watching. Subscribe. And tell me in the comments, what's the next algorithmic disaster waiting to happen?